Well, and we're live. Scott Hastings with the great angle of his. What do you got on a Bucky shirt there? Did you pick that up on the? No, it's a Southside Pizza.
Little
Oh,
Southside Pizza right by
those
the.
were our original sponsors of this podcast. R.I.P.
Oh,
boys to the
there you go.
Southside Pizza. So
They're still there. New ownership, but they're still there.
yeah, they're doing their thing. All right. You know what? I think I forgot to hashtag all this stuff. I'll have to do that later. Anyway, hopefully everybody will find us. All right, Scott
Yeah.
Hastings.
But
We've not
subscribe
had
and
a
like.
chance to hear from you. What's that?
I said if you're on YouTube, subscribe and like.
Subscribe and like, and you'll know we're there. A lot of you've been waiting. It's awesome. Reaction: Michael Porter Jr. got traded for a player that you were very excited about. Just tell me, what did you think of him getting traded and Bruce Brown coming back? Just go ahead.
Well,
You
let's
like
go
Cam
Bruce.
Johnson. You were the first one to kind of put Cam Johnson on my radar, right?
Well, when during the trade deadline in the middle of the season, and all of a sudden the rumors got out that Cam Johnson might be available. I would say, well, that's the guy they got to look at. He's a very similar player to Porter. Um, doesn't have the back injuries and history like that. Obviously, a year or so older, maybe. He's had some of the same MOs as far as when he was in Phoenix. I think the knock on him in Phoenix was that he was more of a finesse player. And then when he went to Brooklyn, he got asked to do a little bit more. And if you go back and look the last 3 seasons, he's shot over 40% from the three and been pretty good. I think he's career 39. Michael's career 40. Um, I think he's younger and cheaper. And this trade just, if nothing more alone, this trade got him all out of the first apron, put him down into an area where now they can actually have a little money to spend. If nothing more, it's for that. And you're going to save, like 17 or $20 million to the cap over the next 2 years, I believe, versus Porter. And they may have similar years. I think Johnson averaged 18.8 this year. Michael averaged 18.2 or something like that. So I mean, they're very similar players. So I will say this: I think Cam Johnson moves without the ball better than Michael does, so that's good. Cam Johnson's not a great defender, but he's a more active participant, I think, defensively, um, and I think he's a better passer. I think he's a guy that will explode getting to play with Nikola Jokic. To be honest with you, so I listen. I think it's a win. Mike, thank you. Did great. Got your ring, got your championship. I feel for his family, and everything they've been through. And Mike's had to go through in the last couple of years, and he still stepped out on the floor. That's some wonderful, wonderful stuff. But this is a business decision, and to me, that trade was good business.
No, I completely. I mean, I completely agree because I got to pull up the tweet. They get about 15 million bucks back. Now, Cam Johnson does have some escalators in his contract. So we talked to Jeremy Coyne, I believe it is. I got to get the name right. I feel bad about that. Jake Coyne, who's like the tax guy that we go to on Twitter. He understands all the cap rules. Jake had said, now again, to explain to everybody why this works, because it's very confusing. Scott, I feel like no matter how much we look into the CBA, we learn some new rule every time we try to talk about something. So, because we had Dempsey on right after the trade, so Nate and Dempsey were trying to figure out, well, who's the missing 10 to 15 million bucks for this thing? I guess it was 10 million. And it turns out if you're trading to get out of an apron with a team that's not in any aprons, and that's Brooklyn, then they were free to do this trade, and Brooklyn could take the extra 10 million because of the math. That's why it's working for those of you asking and going, well, the salaries don't match up. By the way, Cam Johnson is 29, Porter's 27. But to your point, and this gives them about 15 million now in the trade exceptions. I had a breakdown tweet that I sent you. I thought it was a real good tweet. So it breaks down some of the money here. And this comes from Yossi Goslin. It says the Nuggets get significant flexibility by swapping Porter for Cam Johnson. $40 million save. They get under the luxury tax. So they open up the 14.1 mid-level exception and a 16.8 million trade exception. So they
Where
get all of a sudden flexibility out the yin yang.
if you were in the first April, that mid-level section goes down to like 5'8" or 6'8".
That's what you're right. And that's all they had.
Yeah. And if you're, we're into the second April, I don't think you even have one. Salary's funny. I just got an email from the league office, and they just announced the salary cap. It's weird stuff. It's like 179 million, but the first April doesn't start till 190 some million, and then the second April doesn't start till 200. So there's going to be people, and then there's taxes involved and extra money owed. This was a business trade for a similar player. Brooklyn makes a deal because they're stockpiling picks. They're going to get a pick, unprotected first round pick in 32, 5 years from now. And if Michael Porter doesn't work out, he's going to have an expiring contract, not this season, but next. So you play him a year, see if it works out. I read one article that said, yeah, he's got a chance. He'll be the go-to guy in Brooklyn. I went, I'm not sure that's I'm not sure that's Michael's style. Let's see, maybe something turns up, but and if it doesn't work out sexy or whatever, now all of a sudden going into 3 years from now, if they keep him and let him ride out the season, they're going to have $40 million kicked off the cap. And if it works, some other team sometimes want to take those trades so they can get it off their cap. So it's a good deal for them. They're looking for picks and stuff like that. They're way below the cap. It's a great deal for Denver. And like I said, if you're talking pure basketball, very similar player. I think a better cutter and a better passer than Michael was. I don't know if he's quite as good of a rebounder. Michael, when he wanted to, could probably average 8 to 10 rebounds, but then there'd be games when, he'd get one more than Elvis. So and Cam, I think, averages over 5, so that's good for a small forward. I remember when Cam was in Phoenix and was talking with one of the Phoenix people, and I said, tell me about Cam. So I said, he seems kind of soft. He goes, yeah, a little bit. He goes, but Scott, there's not been a time I've watched him shoot a jump shot that I didn't think it was going in. Well, that's a little like Michael Porter Jr., right? So they got a little older, but they got a lot cheaper. And I think they got a lot more mobility. If healthy, Cam Johnson's going to move around a lot better than I think Michael could. Now, as far as Bruce Brown bringing him back, there's the old adage of you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice, right? Lightning don't strike a tree in the same place, all that different stuff. Bruce loved it here. Bruce loved the team here. If we're being super honest, and I don't know if we broached this. I know you and I have broached this subject in our personal conversations. I don't know if we've ever broached it on the podcast. But I honestly, somebody will write books someday from now on. I don't think Jamal Murray was the happiest camper in the world that they brought Russell Westbrook in. I think that some of Russell Westbrook, and he was great. He played great for him and helped him win games this year. But I think his antics in the locker room ran some guys a little rough. And then Bruce is going to come in, and that's Brucey B, right? I mean, I promise you, he will come back in, and it will be like, Bruce, where'd you go for the weekend? It's going to be like he's not even been gone. So, and he's a ball handler. And listen, the year they won it, if you remember, really, he was the backup point guard.
Well, and he took the vet minimum, Scotty. He took the vet minimum. That's the guy that wants to be here.
They traded for Reggie Jackson that year, and they just went with Bruce Brown as your backup point guard. So in a pinch, you can do that. He's got an instant karma, an instant connection with Joker. He understands. If I'm Cam Johnson, when I get in here, I get by Bruce Brown and say, give me a secret, dog. Tell me what's going on. And I guarantee you, Bruce is going to say, see that guy there? Whenever he touches the ball, don't stand. Right?
Yeah.
And like I said, and Bruce knows that. And Cam, like I said, I feel moves better than Michael does. I think it's a win, man, for all the people that were sitting on the sideline, I can't believe they hired these two guys, and who are they and what are they going to do? And this is just, they're going to do, this is home runs.
Well, okay, so I did want to ask you that because I do think, look, as a Nuggets fan, if I'm excited, and I'm just going to be honest about it for a minute, we read the Ramona Shelburne reporting that, I don't remember if it was Josh or Stan didn't want him trading MPJ at the deadline and maybe stepped in and stopped that and wasn't quite sure, okay, what's going on there. And Josh promised he's going to let everybody do their thing, and he let them do their thing today. I'm curious because I'm sure he had to be consulted about this. It's a big deal, and somebody asked on the text line, well, was this Wallace or was this Tenzer? Had to be both of them because Wallace, I'm sure, talked about the player fit of Cam Johnson, and then Tenzer had to handle the contract stuff. But I'm curious, do you think with Wallace coming in, do you think Josh had a conversation with Wallace because you've told me what you've seen Minnesota, they went after Porter. They went after him defensively. They got in his kitchen offensively. They bothered him all series, that Minnesota series a couple years ago. And you would talk about that. Do you think maybe John Wallace said some of these things to Josh to where finally this was the right time?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. And again, I'll what I said on our radio show after the press conference, everybody go, well, who's going to make the final decision? They're the same position. No, one says basketball operations. That's all that's the I's dotting and the T's crossing. That's hotels. That's coaching staff. That's training time. Another one is player personnel. That's trades. That's moves. That's blah blah blah. So I guarantee you, John has probably been in the conversation with Josh. I'll bet you since the hiring, Josh probably hadn't left town, other than to maybe go and watch Arsenal play if they played and then come back here. But I know all the scouts are in right for the draft. I think this has probably been bubbling and working on for a while, if not all the way back to last year. Who knows? Last season. But yeah, I think he came in there and listen. We had him on our radio show, and I asked him. I said, "Listen, you're here now. Tim built that team in Minnesota to beat Denver, didn't they?" He got he got all big smiley and all that stuff. I said, okay, you just answered my question.
You told me what I needed to know.
And so I guarantee you, when you get fresh eyes from another situation who was a competitor going, let me just tell you what we thought was a weak point. And if that was one of the weak points, then he addressed it, and he probably has seen enough of Cam Johnson play. Listen, I just think this is good, and this is from 72 hours ago. You were in a no-hoper again. We were kind of, you and I talk all the time. We're like, oh, yeah, what are they going to do? We're trying to look for, the Scott Hastingses of the 225s that could sign for $5 million. We're looking for guys like that. And all of a sudden you get a starter. Well, actually, you get two guys capable of starter, and one guy for sure will light a fire on the bench.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they get deeper. I am very curious to see what other moves come now. I'll ask you what I asked Nate at the end of the show because I don't know if we're all real sure. Do you think they're done trading? Again, the trade exception's higher than the mid-level exception by a couple of million, and I think they can use both from the way I read that thing. But do you think they're done? Like, with Bruce Brown back in the fold, I'm trying to let me rephrase the question because you've said so much to me that I want to go back and touch on. So, do you think with Bruce Brown here, you've said in the past, Strother was the key to this all working? He's got to develop. Is the pressure off Strother now? Is it to the point where maybe you could think about moving Strother if you want to?
You're still really good. You want to be great. And Strother he's got to get off his ass this year and play near an all-star level. And if he does that, I'm telling you, it changes the whole scope of this team. I saw one podcast earlier tonight. Put Denver, they had OKC, Houston second in the West, and they said Denver moves up to 2B. I still like Houston, the 2A, but I like Denver right now at 2B. So I
Houston's signing everybody too, by the way.
I think everybody will look at this and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. But if Strother jumps in this mix, not giving up on Peyton Watson, being more of a consistent 8 and 7 guy, a couple blocks every night, great. There's your bench. You're fine. And then, other reports, and I'm going to screw the guy's name up in Philadelphia. He had a big game against Denver and Philadelphia this year. He may be available. French guy, undersized center, about 6'8". Yeah, I think it's Yabusele. Vasily, something like that. Played great against Denver when Denver played in Philly this year. He may available. And then, listen, what Boss is doing, would you now take an Al Horford on your team, and even at 40 years old, to come in and play a 1 year and give me 13 minutes a game?
No, I would agree. And apparently, people were texting us there are Horford to Denver rumors. Now, I haven't really seen them. I will also tell you, I was a little surprised you see Mason Plumlee move to the Hornets. But anyway, let's see. I'm trying to go through all. Shams has tweeted so many things, dude. And so I've got to try. I think I saw the. Say again.
You're in that little period, and then what day is it? It's not July 6th. Everything
6th. Yeah, 6th. Like the Nuggets can't comment on this till the 6th.
Yeah.
And I know that because we tried to get John Wallace or somebody on the show today, and they weren't allowed to talk about anything. So I'm trying to go back and see which Philadelphia, because Philadelphia made a couple moves, and so now they're going to try to free up. They're going to try to let somebody, or maybe it's Cole Jackson here. I guess Cole Jackson from the Grizzlies is going to become available. Did you see Dorian Finney-Smith is going to Houston?
I thought, it was a sign and trade, right?
No, he declined his player option. Yeah, he declined his player option. So he was one of the early moves. Cam Spencer has gone to the Grizzlies. Let's see here. Jake LaRavia leaves the Kings. He goes to the Lakers. Trey Jones is going to return to the Bulls. D'Angelo Russell's going to the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Ty Jerome is going to the Grizzlies. Kevin Porter Jr. now is going back to Milwaukee. There's the Bruce Brown news. How about this? Kevon Looney is leaving for the Pelicans. Wow. So he's off to the Pelicans. Free agent center Luke Komet is going to San Antonio.
Cornette from Boston.
Cornette, I'm sorry, yes.
That was a guy I saw, too. That would have been an interesting guy to back up Joker, too.
Clint Capella is going to Houston. How about that?
Well, maybe he's the guy that Houston gets and he's going to trade him to the Lakers.
That could be it. Karras, although everyone's saying the Lakers are going to go get DeAndre Ayton after he got bought out in Portland. Now, and I should quit saying everybody. ESPN claims that Ayton will go to the Lakers, but ESPN wants everybody to go to the Lakers, so do what you want with that. Karis LeVert's going to Detroit.
ESPN doesn't report on anybody but the Lakers, do they?
It feels that way. Someone had tweeted us that they were already trying to figure out how Bruce Brown could be a Laker when Denver signed him. Your guy, Brook Lopez, goes to Los Angeles, but the Clippers.
Yep.
Luke Garza is going to Boston.
Wow.
This is the one that kind of bummed me out. This is the guy I would have liked. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, because Julius Randle re-signed with the team. Joe Ingles re-signed with the team. Naz Reid re-signed with Minnesota. They were in the aprons, and they got restricted like the Nuggets were, so they could not afford Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He agreed to terms with Atlanta. And then I believe that's going to end up becoming a trade. But he's now going to be an Atlanta Hawk.
Yeah, they're going to trade him for draft picks and cash.
Yeah, but he gets to go be a Hawk. I kind of would have liked to see Nickeil Walker Alexander. Someone else Nate mentioned he wouldn't mind is Luke Kennard, but he ends up with Atlanta. Atlanta made some moves today too. Apparently Trae Young reached out to Alexander Walker and Kennard to talk them into wanting to show up. Mason Plumlee goes to Charlotte, and Taurean Prince has agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the Milwaukee Bucks. Jordan Clarkson got bought out by Utah. I wouldn't low-key mind it if he would have shown up here, but he's going to go to New York. Trendon Watford.
Weird fit for me, but then again, you got a new coach there, so.
Well, if they can find one. Yeah. Now, it looks like they're closing in on Mike Brown or Dawn Staley might be the coach too, but I saw something from Shams earlier that said Mike Brown's getting a second interview and might be the guy. Let's see here. And then Gary Trent Jr. has agreed to go back to Milwaukee. And I'm going to refresh it, and I think that gets us up to date, at least right now, on what has been the NBA's Christmas, if you will, as they open free agency.
And I'll ask you and all the listeners out there, watchers out there, and all the Nuggets fans, are you a little excited your team did something?
Well, yeah, because it was so fun. Because you know what Nate and I ended up doing with the news breaking at basically 5:10 is when we saw it. I think it broke a little bit earlier, but we're in the middle of the high five, and I was looking at something that wasn't the text line, and Shams tweeted so much that I didn't see the MPJ news right away. So it took me a couple minutes, saw the tweet. We cut off the high five, obviously went wall-to-wall Nuggets, but it was so much fun. We stayed with Berto and did the crossover like we do with your show and mine. And Nate and I stayed there till 6:15 talking about this with Berto because there wasn't a person in that station that thought this was going to happen. To be dead honest with you, I don't know one of us that thought after the press conference last week and talking about development and working on the margins and this, that, the other, it did not sound to me. I left the press conferences last week convinced they're keeping the core four together. And so, and look, man, I'm not like jumping up and down because Michael Porter Jr. is gone necessarily. I like the guy. He played hard for Denver. You know what? He was a lot for the guy with the back injury. He certainly was available for more games than some of his teammates ended up being. So you got to tip your cap to the guy like that. You've talked about what kind of shape that back's in. But the reality is the most tradable contract you could have to move to do the things we're talking about was Michael Porter Jr.'s. He was the only one you could really play with, and I'll repeat for those. We got a lot of people jumping on tonight. Pleased to have you. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We usually do this podcast Wednesdays at 9 o'clock, but had to react to it today.
And I'm on vacation. And by the way,
yeah, you're on vacation. This just became this is no longer a vacation day.
Let me introduce the Nuggets world, and I think Andy, you met him all the time. That's my little brother Chris right there.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
How are you?
How tall is Chris?
6'6".
You know what you guys need in your family? A runt. That's what you need.
He is the runt.
Yeah, it's 6'6". Get out of here with that. All right. I want to repeat for everybody that may have joined us late, though. By making this move today, and again, they were allowed to do it for the capologists out there. Jake Coyne, who's great at this stuff, told us because the Nuggets were in an apron and they were trading with the Nets, who were not in an apron. The Nets
way below the salary cap.
Way below the salary cap. Jake told us the Nuggets could have traded for a $25 million player, or excuse me, the Nets could have traded for a $25 million player and only given up a draft pick. The Nets were so far under the salary cap, they did not have to meet the salary for salary rules that normally you do. So by doing this trade, and so basically the Nets took on $10 million more in salary than they sent back to the Nuggets, and that was the threshold that they had to meet. Again, according to Yassi Goslin, who tweeted, he said the Nuggets open up $40 million in save money. They get under the luxury tax. They open up the $14.1 million mid-level exception, which they only had, as you and I said, 5.8 before, and they open up a $16.8 million trade exception. All right. I'll ask you, Scotty, do you think they eventually work their way back into the first apron, or after living under that for a couple of years, do you think they try to avoid it?
I think they'll try to avoid it if at all possible. But I also don't think they're afraid. They've lived there for 2 years, so I don't think they're afraid to play in the first. I don't think anybody wants to live in the second apron. I mean,
no, that's the cap, right?
That's the cap hill right there.
And I think Minnesota might be in it. Or if not, they're close to it.
Well,
so.
Boston did it. You see what they're doing, right?
Oh, yeah, because they don't want to pay the $500 million tax dollars anymore.
This goes back to what Josh Kroenke said when everybody flipped out and turned his words around. You get in that second apron, then all of a sudden you're stuck, and then somebody big time gets hurt. The only way you get out of is it. He said, God forbid we never have to trade somebody like 15th. He wouldn't say we want to. He said we want to avoid. Guess what they just did? Hey, all you worry warts. All you, they're just going to run it back. Oh, my gosh, they're going to trade Joker. All you guys out there that said all that, they just pulled off a master plan trade, and you ain't got to worry about none of that.
Nope.
Now, you good.
Well, and you know what they can do? If they don't have a move they like right now they could truly wait till the deadline and pull a move then. You know what I mean? Think about at the deadline for the first time in 3 years since you traded for Aaron Gordon, you could truly make a move that you want to make at the deadline and not be stuck just trying to pick some scraps up. Well, so that's why even if they don't do anything else in the summer, I'm cool because all I wanted, the reason why I'm so happy about this, because again, I want to reiterate, I hope when Michael Porter Jr. comes back to town, he gets treated the way Bruce Brown did. I hope it's a loving, warm reception because every guy, frankly, that was on that championship team should be revered and considered a Nuggets legend for the rest of the time to me. Because again, it's the title of all the 4 sports we have here. An NBA championship is the one I least believe we would ever see in town. So I am ecstatic and grateful from Coach Malone to every player on there that they were able to pull that off, and you'll forever be beloved in this city. They should never buy a beer in this town. But that being said, you now have like I said, you can now be flexible. You know what I mean? You can now actually do what you want and not what you only can afford. You can go to Shanahan's now and not have to go to, Mr. Steak.
Now you have options instead of being forced in one direction in a corner. They you know what? The league, and they did it to themselves. They put Baby in the corner. Well, Baby's out of the corner right now.
Right.
Yeah. Don't dance around and get yourself back in that corner again. But you're out of it for a little bit. And listen, I think there's some great options, and I think that I don't even know how it works. That 14-8 can be 7 million guys.
It might be. I'm with you. I don't know how that works, but they might be able to bring it up. Yeah. John Sears says, and guys, we're seeing a lot of your comments. I'm sorry. It's got a lot going on, but Sears says, all right, give me some deadline scenarios to know what they do next year just for fun. I don't know any yet because, John, we don't know how the seasons are going to go, but I'll give you one. Kevin Durant's on an expiring contract. They get 3 quarters through the year. Houston's a disaster, or Houston's got so many dang good young guys, they kind of don't need Durant. Well, guess what? That's the kind of guy that all of a sudden you could go talk about because he's an expiring contract.
You lose a couple of injuries and it's going downhill, and you may lose him anyways or anything you can get out of it. But that, yeah, that's what you look for. That's, like I said, that was the article I read today on Michael for Brooklyn. They gave him this year, but next year, same thing. So.
By the way, you ever go to Mr. Steak? Were you in Denver when Mr. Steak existed?
I don't know if I remember a Mr. Steak.
So it was in my old neighborhood of North Denver, right? Sheridan and 44th, man. And it was all right. It was no Shanahan's. I'll just tell you that. But the backgrounds you and I came from, it was fine living.
So they left Mr. Steak and got, well, in my hometown growing up, we had Wiggins.
Wiggins? Okay.
Restaurant.
Vote here if you're an old schooler on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or wherever you're watching this. I got to hear from you. What was the higher end, Mr. Steak or Trail Dust? They're about the same, I want to say.
Trail Dust is outstanding.
So, yeah, Trail Dust was good. Mr. Steak was good. It just wasn't Shanahan's. Our boy Jeb came into town the other night. So, all right. So Mark B says we could take the money being below the apron, right? So that 16 million trade exemption might become 20 million range player, just taking on 4 million. Maybe Mark B. I don't know, man. Here's the problem. Every time I think I know something, I read something else and figure out I don't. Yeah. Seriously, Jake Coyne, he's a great follow on Twitter. Let me go get his Twitter handle.
If you're a number nerd, you need to be following Jake Coyne.
Yeah, because he's at hold on. I'm trying to pull it. He's at the Stat Squatch. The Stat Squatch. So follow Jake because he's like H&R Block for this stuff, right? The damn tax laws change every year, and it feels like so do these cap rules. So anyway, but look, man, great night. Like you said, I know the odds in Vegas went like they cut in half for the Nuggets to win the championship after the word of all this. So I don't know. There you go. It was, yeah. Again, I've got so many tweets loaded in there. I'd have to go look again, but they went like from 1,100 something to 750 or something like that. So, people are believing.
It's the first pause they've moved since, in my opinion, it's the first positive move they've made since the summer of 22.
Shakey's Pizza. Yeah, I'm with you. I
like pizza now.
Oh, Shakey's Pizza was great. Did you ever have the Godfather?
I love Godfather's Pizza.
Godfather's Pizza?
Is there? No, it's a good fellow. I was just saying, it's not. There used to be a Godfather's in Independence. Chris, wasn't that a Godfather's in
Hey,
Independence?
No, it was not Godfather.
What was it? The one down by your old shop downtown.
Big cheese pizza.
Oh, Big Cheese Pizza. Don't forget Big Pizza now.
this person, bittersweets. Whoops. Someone said there's an Arby's there. Yeah, sweets. There was an Arby's next to the Mr. Steak. Anyway, now we got a Blackjack's vote. Somehow we've shifted to pizza here. But anyway, well, man. All right. What do you think? What do we think? Do you think they're done? What do you think happens? There's probably one more move coming, wouldn't you think? You want to use the mid-level exception at minimum, don't you?
Heard anything officially on Sarge?
Yeah, he opted in like a week ago. But maybe it's so they could trade him. Maybe they can add him as a trade piece or something. Although if they were going to add him to Brooklyn, I don't know where they could add him.
If you can buy out DeAndre Ayton at $22 million, you could probably buy out Dario Saric at $5 million.
Yeah, but that doesn't save you any money, but maybe you don't care now, right? Is that what you're saying? Like his $5 million is just dead money, but
it opens a roster spot. Now, it'll be interesting to see. You know, that might be something like with, that's $5 million you could put in a deal, whatever. Let's see.
We'd be going to Sizzler. I love that. Sorry. A Sizzler. Anyway, go ahead.
I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of deal now where Denver takes a little money in, but start getting draft picks back for themselves.
It's a great call because in this deal, for those that didn't hear it, the Nuggets sent their 2032 first, which tells me they've already given up 2030 because I remember reading 2031 was the next available one. But remember, you can't you got to have a first round pick every other year. So that must mean they traded 2030. So 2031 has to be the Nuggets. So 2032 goes to Brooklyn.
Here's what Andy and I will do on the draft night of 2032. We will host another podcast and lament the Brooklyn team taking Nuggets pick. Remember, this could be ours.
Yeah, well, if Jokic is gone in 2031, we may really be lamenting the 2032 pick.
7 years from now, and all of a sudden, say he retires after 6, and all of a sudden they win 20 games, and all of a sudden that pick becomes number 3.
Yeah, that'd be brutal. First time the Nuggets get the first pick and it goes to Brooklyn.
Yeah, right.
Let's not talk about stuff like that. Come on now. Now.
But guess what? We got 7 years to worry about that.
That's a 7-year problem. I'm not even sure what's going to be going on in 7 years.
You'll have an itch between now and then. I don't know, man. Listen.
It's a good day.
It's a big deal. I don't like bashing guys on the way out, but I think you got better.
Well, you did get better. Look, I don't think it's bashing anybody. Michael Porter Jr. has a limited game. And look, but so do a lot of guys. Not everybody's Nikola Jokic. Okay? And you won a championship with MPJ? Okay, I'll ask you the tough question I asked Nate and Demps. And even they admitted probably not.
He probably had a tear in his eye when he talked about this trade.
Who's it? Demps?
Dempsey, didn't he?
Yeah, it was funny because when we asked him, how do you feel? There was a little moment of hesitation and quiet, which, look, I get it. Man, I wasn't happy when they traded Atwater to the Jets. I know how Demps feels. You know what, though? I'll ask you this. Do you think MPJ ever reached his potential? Not the sky ceiling potential everybody wanted for him. Do you think he hit the potential that people thought he had? I guess I don't know. I'm probably not putting that the right way, but I'll just ask you, did he get to?
I think his injury, to be honest with you, and it's still an injury in my opinion, the back stuff and the foot stuff and all that. I think he's got a ceiling. I think what we've seen the last 2 years is ceiling. I don't know how much more he's got. And it's not because of Michael. It's because of the physical limitations I think that this injury gives him. For me, he never moved well enough away from the basketball. Now, was that because he was lazy, because he didn't know how to play off the ball, or is he limited? You know, what's the old song? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once I ever was.
Yeah.
He may have a limited number of hard cuts in that body every night. I mean, I'm being real honest now. But he stood and watched. He was too much of a participant for me in the offense, and the offense that flowed like it did. Cam Johnson won't be. So I'm not so sure that he never reached. No, he didn't reach the potential people thought he had, like his senior year in high school before the injury. But I think he reached the potential of what that injury is going to allow him to reach.
All right. See, I just wanted it because people were trying to throw out the Kevin Durant and stuff like that, and just I still think he got plenty good out of him. But I'm with you. I'd like to see
Cam Johnson at 17 million or 21 million or Kevin Durant at 50.
Cam Johnson right now. Are you kidding me? Kevin Durant puts you getting into this apron situation.
Yep.
And I don't know. Look, if I could see what Durant Joker look like, maybe I'd. But see, to me, Joker, you got to keep Joker the dude. So, Drevic, I think that's how it goes. Dr. Evic, that's one of our regular listeners. I know who he is. I met him in a bunch of remotes. He said, I know it's a 1-year deal, but I'm super glad Bruce is on the way back. See, the cap goes up next year. I want to remind everybody. So Bruce might have taken this knowing there could be more money for him next year, right? Remember we kept hearing that it's going to go up next year? Did you hear that, by the way? Fireworks in my backyard. I got the door open, so I hope that didn't freak anybody out if it made it on there.
Yeah, how about that? The day we give our four-court score back way with Port. But you know what? I said that. Go back and listen to our shows. I said that, hey, one of these cats liable to get traded, and if so, maybe it's even more valuable.
You said it to me a couple of times on the phone. You go, you watch, where these guys going to go? And sure enough, it happened. By the way, Eli Farkas, congratulations. I know the name because he texts all the shows. So, I root for everybody that goes in. I got no skin in the game, and a computer picks the names now. And has been doing that for the last couple of years. So, but I'm glad somebody that I know texts all the shows, all the time slots wanted. Eli texted in when he heard the news, and he goes, well, I guess Andy can wear the MPJ jersey now. Do you know it's a joke behind that? Because, I shot the bean bags with McKinnon's stick. Me and Springer were doing that. I said I was going to put on all the jerseys and do something fun for YouTube, and I immediately got a big boss text going, don't you dare put those on. Don't you dare stretch those jerseys out. So, anyway.
Oh, my gosh. You mean that the sense of humor police jumped on you?
A little bit. But you know what? Hey, the Porter one looked like it might be a tight fit.
I had a little coat.
That guy Richard. I had to rip the back. That would have been great. I prefer Horford. He can make a jump shot, but wouldn't be mad about Nance. Yeah. Let's see here. Mark B asked Nance Jr. or Horford.
I think Horford, even at his age, I tell you what, Nance plays his butt off. I mean, he plays hard. He's undersized. He's had a little bit of a shot. But I think Al he's a champion and he's a pro. I mean, he's a pro's pro. But I mean, listen, when you get around that 4-0 number, man, them knees got to be barking a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, I would think. I mean, it can't be fun to run up and. You know what? All I'm asking for. By the way, Yabusi, is that the guy, or Yabusele? Is that the guy you were talking about from?
I like
Yabusele is from the Sixers.
But I think he's from France. I believe I don't know if he's a restricted free agent or not, but that was the name I heard mentioned along with Horford. Yabusele had a great game against Denver, and I think he's like the third big on Philadelphia. He's undersized now. He's only about 6'8", but he plays hard.
Listen, I said this on the show today, dude. Here's all I want, okay? I want a big man that you trust to play, okay? You haven't trusted anybody since Hartenstein or Mason Plumlee. I can't even remember who came first. I want someone.
You haven't trusted a big since Plumlee.
Right. So we got to change that. We're talking 8 to 10 minutes a night, man. We're not asking for a lot. I need 4 to 5 minutes in the second and fourth quarter to start each. Just let Joker get his wind.
Give me 6 minutes between the second and the third, late third, fourth, and then in blowouts, finish it up.
Thank you. How about, there's been
12 to 18.
Somebody threw out there Bull. Denver might have an interest in re-signing Bull. Would you? No? Okay. That's how Nate felt.
Listen, he's a unique talent. He's a unique talent, and he, he's another guy that if he never reaches his potential, that's more on personal choice.
Sure. We hear you. I feel you. What about DeAndre Ayton? That's another. Now, again, even Big Perk there had to, admit that. By the way, our guy Cole's chatting with the people tonight too. Big Perk says Ayton's got a bit of an attitude problem, but a bit of a diva. He's got to quit doing it. If his problem is he's a diva, is he going to come in here and play backup to Jokic, even though Jokic is the greatest guy going?
Well, he's going to go to the Lakers. That's going to be interesting what they do, probably. Listen, DeAndre Ayton was a 2010 guy and just solid. And I don't know what happened to him. I mean, he used to really compete against Joker, and then also, like he's done against so many, just started taking his mojo away, and then he just, to me, turned into a nice guy. I think DeAndre Ayton had a problem. He turned into a nice guy. Maybe money did that. He would be appealing on a vet minimum, but I don't know if you're going to get Ayton, he's going to want 20+ minutes a game.
Yeah, that's why.
T-Weezy, I see you, dog.
Yeah. So, who else?
I like Ayton a lot, but if you think he has a dude on a team where he was playing a little bit,
right?
Try to go younger. I mean, and you just said you're trying to get a guy 12 to 18 minutes. You gonna be happy coming here getting 18 minutes?
No, I'm with you. I mean, you're not getting any of Joker's minutes. And look, we don't know what Deron Holmes is. That's the thing. They may have what they need in Deron Holmes. Now, I always saw Deron Holmes more as the sub for Aaron Gordon than I did as a center, but I don't know. What do I know? So
I'm with you. I do too.
But,
I don't know, man. Listen. There's an article on The Athletic that they talked with Dominic Wilkins after all these dudes started ripping up Achilles tendons this year in the NBA. And he came back and after 30, I think. I mean, he's one of the freaks that's ever done it. But, man, that's just one of them injuries. You never know, man.
Yeah, you're right. By the way, Nahura Tal speaks for all of us. Never dreamed we'd be here yesterday. You're right, man. The Achilles, I want to believe he's okay, but I don't know. Durant had one of those though, right? He came back from the Achilles and he was okay. So, but Deron Holmes is supposed to be a freak athlete. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing. Man, I'm looking forward to Nuggets season. I got Broncos and the Nuggets season all of a sudden to be looking forward to.
Oh, so help me. I've been on vacation here. What's the Avs? They making any noise?
Upset me, but whatever. Well, you go. No, this is my complaint. I said it. Look, I said it to John Michael Lyles on our show Friday. All right. You tell us at every deadline that you got to get bigger for the playoff push, and then you get these bigger guys like Charlie Coyle, and then you trade them away. And I just don't understand it. And look, people know my feelings on Sam Girard. I know he's a good regular season player, and I get it, and that's fine. You need size in the playoffs. You keep trying to acquire it every year, and I don't understand then why you don't keep it around. Now, again, to be fair, I knew they'd have to trade a contract of $5 to $5.5 million. Natchez would have been $6.5 million. And Coyle had 1 year left, so he was desirable and all that kind of stuff, okay? But you traded, again, I guess what kind of gets under my skin, what sticks in my craw, the bee in my bonnet there, Hastings, since you're in the Midwest, you go and you trade for an undersized center that I hear about the speed and the incredible hands, but he's 180 pounds and 5 foot something. All right, man, that's fine. But, what I don't want is another year where you're trying to acquire the appropriate size for a playoff run, and then nobody has time to get their chemistry right because it's only 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's where I get frustrated. You've admitted to us the last couple years with all the move that you've made that you need to have some size, and then you get rid of it in the offseason. You did it last year with Duhaime and Yakov Trenin. And now Ryan Lindgren's apparently going to go test the market. There's another big gritty dude you brought in. Whatever. We have to see the full picture. Hey, you know what else I'm sick of? You know what else I want to put a moratorium on? Dead serious, man. Because this Friday, and I know people on here that follow the Avs saw this, the stupid Sidney Crosby thing popped back up Friday night during the draft. Kevin Weeks finally was outed by a guy that called his source. I can go get the name if you want me to, but there was some small-time guy tweeting about how Sid was going to come to Denver and the Avs and the Pittsburgh. It's finally there. They're just talking compensation, and finally he admitted, sorry, Kevin Weeks gave me a guy, and I talked to him, and the guy was wrong. And Kevin Weeks gets on it, but see, Kevin Weeks, and I love Kevin Weeks, but Kevin Weeks decides to just tweet a picture under Sid of the Rocky Mountain skyline. And I'm just like, and they did it at the trade deadline. So you know what? No more Sid stuff. No more. I don't want to hear about it. No more. No, it's done.
If we don't want a 40-year-old Al Horford, we want a 4-year-old Sid Crosby?
I mean, on the right deal, but not that 8.7 he's got. So, anyway.
How about the Rockies? They won 8 games?
Dude, they went 17 innings before they scored. They found a way to beat Milwaukee yesterday. That's the only one they got. They got shut out Saturday, and they got to the 8th inning before they could finally score a lousy run. Your boy, who's the new manager?
He got kicked out.
Yeah, he gets kicked out. So, Warren Schaefer. I knew I'd figure it out. See, I don't know. My sports mood today, it's just been cleansed. It's like a refreshing beverage of what has happened. And now the the Nuggets have room and everybody can play and I'm good. You know, I don't want to go back.
You know, it's like the amp wouldn't work at the big band that was going to play for the party, and all somebody said, "Hey, I found an outlet." Oh, yeah. Party's back on. Let's go.
By the way, Metallica played, and they played a double set list. And I don't know if anybody on here went. If you went to Friday night show, you kind of got screwed. They didn't have a very good set list, I didn't think. So they didn't play For Whom the Bell Tolls. They didn't play Enter Sandman. They didn't play Whiskey in a Jar. They didn't play Wherever I May Roam. All you got on Friday night that I would have liked was Master of Puppets. But then if you go Sunday, look at the little thumb agrees with me. Then if you went Sunday, you missed Master of Puppets. Now, what the hell are we doing? They called it a no-repeat weekend. I got news for you. I need you to repeat some of that.
Did you go to either concert?
Nah, I didn't go. I saw them when they were ripping, baby. I don't need to. I mean, look, they'd have been good. I'd have been, from what I saw, they would have been pretty good. So
weren't they with Fred Durst on Sunday?
On Friday, they were with Limp Bizkit. Last night, there was Suicidal Tendencies and Pantera.
Pantera, that's right.
Pantera. So yeah. So anyway.
The Warden had to get up and early.
See, Brian says that they were awesome both nights. Brian, I get it, but Brian, you can't see Brian. You saw him. If you saw both nights, you're hooked up, Brian.
You got to see all the music.
Yeah, but if I don't get For Whom the Bell Tolls and Enter Sandman, it ain't a Metallica concert, baby. Come on, what are you doing? And yeah, they also set the record. Taylor Swift now no longer has the record for back-to-back concerts as Empower. It's Metallica. You're damn right it is. Travis Kelce's girlfriend don't get a hold no records in our building. Not in our house. So, all right. You got them tired eyes. You're in Oklahoma. It's probably time to go to bed.
I've been playing around with dust and mold today.
So anyway, all right. Look, we love you all. I think this might be the most live viewers we've had. So at least according to that number, we had some pretty good. Yeah, we had some pretty good. Some ones in the playoffs. We love you all. Like and subscribe. Hey, we do this on Wednesdays. Come join us. We won't be back this Wednesday. That's it for the week. Scotty's got stuff to do where he's at. But we'll talk to you in a week's time,
And happy 4th. Happy birthday, number 249 to the country. So everybody be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Please be safe. But yeah, and we'll talk to you. All day long, all up and down the altitude lineup. You know, we'll be talking about the big moves that occurred with the Nuggets today. And if the Avs jump into the pot too, we'll join them as well. Good night, everybody. This has been Hot Mike with Hastings and Lindahl. Good night.